Welcome to another episode of Hidden Hollywood, brought to you by Fame Factor. I'm your host, Sonia Lambert, and today we're diving deep into one of the most controversial and enigmatic stories in entertainment history. This isn't just a celebrity mystery, it's the tragic unraveling of a woman who became an icon, then became a question mark. A blonde bombshell adored by millions, Marilyn Monroe rose from foster homes and heartbreak to become the face of Hollywood glamour. But behind the platinum curls and dazzling smile was a woman chasing love, safety, and truth. And somewhere along the way, that search led her straight to the most powerful family in America, the Kennedys. Tonight, we're peeling back the layers of Monroe's final months, the secret phone calls, the whispered threats, the FBI files, and the swirling rumors of affairs with both President John F. Kennedy and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. But most haunting of all is what happened on August 4th, 1962, in a modest home in Brentwood, Los Angeles, where Marilyn Monroe was found dead, naked in her bedroom, clutching a phone, and surrounded by unanswered questions. Why was her room scrubbed clean before police arrived? Why did the official timeline keep changing? And why did so many close to Marilyn believe she didn't die by accident? We'll walk through the autopsy report, the classified documents, and the chilling final phone calls. Because more than 6 decades later, Marilyn's voice still echoes, not from a film reel or a red carpet, but from a silence that refuses to be explained. So settle in. This isn't just the story of a start. It's a story of secrets, surveillance, and a system that may have wanted Marilyn gone. Because when Hollywood royalty gets too close to real power, some fairy tales turn deadly. Before she was the blonde bombshell who would captivate presidents, Marilyn Monroe was just another struggling actress in Hollywood's ruthless machine. But what most people don't realize is that the Marilyn we remember was entirely manufactured, a carefully constructed persona that required years of painstaking work. Picture this. It's 1949, and a 23-year-old Norma Jean is sitting in a diner, her career completely stalled. Despite producers acknowledging her attractiveness, they didn't consider her face suited for film. She was relegated to background roles. Yet something magical happened whenever she appeared on screen, even for mere seconds. Male theatergoers would stir with excitement. But incredibly, industry insiders failed to recognize any star potential in these reactions. Then came the moment that changed everything. At that diner, someone mentioned a casting opportunity for a Groucho Marx film called Love Happy. They needed a blonde bombshell who could invigorate Groucho's character simply by walking past him. Determined to seize this chance, Marilyn creatively lobbied for an audition. What happened next was pure genius. She delivered a walk so mesmerizing that Groucho Marx himself was captivated. He described it as embodying Mae West, Theda Bara, and Bo Peep simultaneously. This wasn't natural, it was calculated brilliance. Marilyn had crafted her legendary walk, a carefully curated blend of innocence and sensuality that would become her trademark. But the walk was just the beginning. Her voice, naturally possessing an enticing childlike quality, lacked the range for cinematic allure. So she worked with coaches to transform it into her signature deep, breathy tone, again melding innocence with seduction. Behind her glamorous facade, Marilyn spent hours before mirrors, perfecting her makeup and image. Many misinterpreted this meticulous preparation as vanity, but creating the Marilyn Monroe persona required significant effort and study. Every gesture, every look, every breath was choreographed. Here's where it gets psychologically fascinating. Despite achieving fame through this carefully crafted sexuality, Marilyn was frustrated that studios persistently typecast her in bombshell roles. The very image she had labored to establish, she now sought to transcend. She wanted serious, nuanced roles, but producers had pigeonholed her. Her acting coach, Michael Chekhov, made a telling observation during a rehearsal of The Cherry Orchard. He noticed that she emanated strong sexual vibes unintentionally. Despite claiming no such focus during the scene, the persona had become so ingrained that she couldn't turn it off. But here's the secret ingredient that made Marilyn different from every other actress employing similar techniques: her authentic vulnerability. This wasn't manufactured. It stemmed from her deprived background and a profound lack of affection in her childhood. Her craving for love and acceptance made her appear perpetually delicate, like a child seeking protection. This emotional depth transmitted through the camera, making her inadvertently mesmerizing in ways that purely constructed glamour never could. Fast forward to February 1st, 1962. Marilyn Monroe, now the world's most famous actress, is about to meet someone who will change the trajectory of her final months: Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General of the United States and brother to the president. The setting is elegant, a dinner party where Marilyn arrives with a small napkin covered with questions. In reality, she didn't need this cheat sheet. She was more than capable of having a stimulating conversation with someone like Bobby Kennedy, but perhaps the napkin gave her confidence in such powerful company. The two eventually made their way to the bar, where the conversation turned to J. Edgar Hoover. Marilyn expressed her belief that the FBI director was overstepping his bounds, alleging he spied indiscriminately, including on her. Jean Martin, also present at the gathering, overheard Marilyn say something chilling. "He even spies on me, and what do I ever do? All I ever do is shop and make movies, yet he has his goons following me." For some time, Marilyn had been convinced she was under surveillance. She had contacted her informal manager, Lucille Carroll, to report that someone was spying on her within her own bedroom, despite no latter being capable of reaching the third floor of her home. As the old saying goes, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. Marilyn was indeed being monitored by Hoover's agents, which likely only worsened her feelings of paranoia. Bobby confirmed something remarkable that night. Both he and President John F. Kennedy shared her sentiments regarding Hoover. They, too, had been subjects of the FBI director's surveillance, but were powerless to act against him at the time. Imagine that. The President of the United States and his brother, the Attorney General, feeling powerless against their own FBI director. The next day, February 2nd, Marilyn penned a letter to Isidore Miller, Arthur Miller's father, whom she still addressed as "Dear Dad," despite her divorce from the playwright. She described Bobby Kennedy as mature and brilliant for his 36 years. She was particularly taken with his civil rights platform and his infectious sense of humor. In this letter, she revealed something telling. When asked whom he wished to meet, Bobby had expressed interest in meeting her, leading to their dinner encounter. She proudly shared that she had quizzed Bobby about the civil rights movement and was impressed by his responses. Bobby promised to send her a letter summarizing their discussion, which contained valuable insights. Because she had posed questions reflecting the concerns of young Americans eager for progress, Joan Braden recalled how everyone started dancing afterward, with Marilyn teaching Bobby the twist. Their shared laughter and enjoyment were evident, though Braden noted that this open flirtation seemed bold, especially with Bobby's wife Ethel watching. The Kennedy women were known for their resilience, but Braden believed that beneath Ethel's strong exterior lay a sensitive and often wounded woman. During her therapy sessions, yes, Marilyn was in analysis during this period, she spoke about the dynamic between President John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. She drew a fascinating comparison, likening their relationship to that of a naval captain and his executive officer, with Bobby playing a pivotal supportive role to his brother, the president. Monroe expressed unwavering loyalty to both men, emphasizing her intention never to embarrass President Kennedy. She shared something poignantly revealing. "As long as I have memory, I have John Fitzgerald Kennedy." Those words suggest a depth of feeling that goes far beyond a casual acquaintance. Noted historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr. observed how Robert Kennedy had become a part of Monroe's thoughts during the last summer of her life. But here's where things get complicated and tragic. Despite these feelings, Monroe admitted during another therapy session that she had no room in her life for Bobby. She lacked the courage to confront him about ending their association and preferred that someone else communicate its conclusion. Most tellingly, she had attempted to reach President Kennedy for assistance in this matter, but was unsuccessful. Think about that for a moment. The world's most famous actress, trying to reach the President of the United States to help her end a relationship with his brother. The power dynamics here are staggering. After President Kennedy's famous Madison Square Garden birthday celebration, the Happy Birthday, Mr. President performance, Kennedy spent Sunday in New York City with various engagements before flying back to Washington on Air Force One. Instead of heading straight to the White House, he took a helicopter to Glen Ora, the Kennedy family's country retreat, spending the night alone. But within the corridors of the White House, there was a constant barrage of phone calls from Marilyn Monroe. She was excessively eager and insistent on securing an invitation to Washington from the president. Known for her persistent and sometimes erratic behavior, Marilyn would frequently call at all hours, relentlessly pursuing what she wanted. Senator George Smathers recounted that the frequency and nature of her calls had become a source of embarrassment for Kennedy. The situation had become so problematic that Kennedy dispatched Bill Thompson, one of his aides responsible for managing such situations, to Los Angeles to try to mitigate the problem. Eventually, Marilyn understood the silence as a clear message. According to Senator Smathers, she eventually stopped troubling the president, as he had ceased communication with her. The rejection must have been devastating for someone so desperately seeking love and acceptance. Meanwhile, Jackie Kennedy, adhering to her philosophy of maintaining composure and grace by ignoring scandals and remaining above them, arrived as planned for the week's events. She was prominently by her husband's side throughout the week, seemingly unaffected by any incidents involving Marilyn Monroe. During the state dinner for President and Mrs. Félix Houphouët-Boigny of the Ivory Coast, Jackie wore a stunning white floor-length strapless gown that curiously mirrored the glamour of Marilyn's attire at the birthday gala. But while speculations about Kennedy's rumored relationship with Marilyn Monroe captivated public attention, his association with Dr. Max Jacobson was becoming a more pressing concern among family members. Jacobson, known as Dr. Feelgood, was exhibiting increasingly erratic behavior. His paranoia was particularly unsettling. He had convinced himself that he was under constant surveillance and believed that the artworks in the White House were bugged. During a stroll from the West Wing, he alarmed Secret Service agents by raving about hidden eyes in the portraits, asking a White House policeman, "Is that one bugged too?" Now we come to the most controversial part of our story. In her final months, Marilyn Monroe contacted Fred Otash, a former vice detective turned private investigator who had left the LAPD in the mid-1950s following conflicts with Chief William H. Parker. Otash was known for his hard-living lifestyle, consuming a quart of scotch and 4 packs of cigarettes every day. Marilyn requested his assistance in installing a surveillance device on her phone. She wanted to record her conversations as a protective measure against potential threats or blackmail. Otash provided her with a discreet mini-phone listening device small enough to be concealed in her bra. But here's the shocking truth. Unbeknownst to Monroe, her 2,624-square-foot hacienda-style residence on 12,305 Fifth Helena Drive was already equipped with recording devices. These were covertly placed in the walls and ceiling by Otash himself. Monroe had purchased this 4-bedroom, 3-bath property just 6 months prior for $90,000. Otash was deeply connected to Hollywood's dark underbelly. In addition to his role as a paid fact verifier for gossip magazines, he also engaged in political espionage, uncovering Democratic pursuits on behalf of Howard Hughes and Richard Nixon. He diligently documented the private lives of Hollywood stars, many of whom were part of Kennedy's social circle. Author James Elroy revealed that Otash frequently boasted about bugging Peter Lawford's beach house to gather incriminating information on John F. Kennedy. According to Elroy, Otash claimed that JFK was not particularly impressive in his private escapades, though Elroy himself was skeptical of these stories. Otash's extensive surveillance became the basis for his most shocking revelation: "I listened to Marilyn Monroe die." According to Otash, On a Saturday afternoon in August, prior to Monroe's call to Peter Lawford, both Lawford and Bobby Kennedy were present at her Brentwood home. There, they had a heated confrontation with the distressed Monroe. She allegedly lamented being used and objectified, describing a vehement dispute concerning her relationship with Bobby Kennedy and the promises he purportedly made to her. During this altercation, as Monroe's cries intensified, Bobby attempted to silence her with a pillow to prevent neighbors from overhearing. After she eventually quieted down, he sought to leave the premises. Despite these dramatic claims, there's an interesting counterpoint. Joe DiMaggio Jr., the son of her second husband, spoke with Marilyn that evening. The 21-year-old Marine private indicated nothing seemed out of the ordinary, stating that Monroe's voice sounded just as he remembered it, distinctively like Marilyn. In the early morning hours of August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home. What followed was an autopsy that raised as many questions as it answered. In an unusual deviation from protocol, junior medical examiner Dr. Thomas Noguchi took charge of the autopsy instead of the chief medical examiner. Dr. Noguchi, who would later earn the reputation of coroner to the stars and inspire the titular character in the television series Quincy, conducted the examination with great attention to detail. The examination left such a lasting impression on him that Dr. Noguchi recited lines from the Latin poet Petrarch, reflecting on the curious notion that death can sometimes appear beautiful. The actress was 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 118 pounds. As a coroner, Dr. Noguchi's fundamental assumption was that each body he examined might be a victim of homicide. With this in mind, he scrutinized Monroe's body, uncovering no evidence of needle marks from drug injections, nor signs of physical trauma, apart from a new bruise located slightly above her left hip. His analysis confirmed toxic levels of barbiturates in the blood, with an empty stomach devoid of food remnants or the yellow dye from Nembutal capsules. This finding was crucial. If she had swallowed the fatal dose, traces should have been found in her stomach. However, Dr. Noguchi did not carry out comprehensive organ testing, focusing only on blood and liver analysis. Years later, he acknowledged this oversight, admitting, "I am sure that this could have cleared up a lot of the subsequent controversy, but I didn't follow through as I should have." Dr. Cyril Wecht interpreted the autopsy findings as acute combined drug toxicity from chloral hydrate and Nembutal, but another expert, Miner, held a contrasting view. He believed Monroe was given an enema containing a deadly mix of Nembutal and chloral hydrate, a common Hollywood weight loss method, despite her already low body weight due to ongoing health problems. Suspicions also surrounded Ralph Greenson, Monroe's psychiatrist, primarily due to lingering questions about his involvement in her life, including a mysterious broken nose incident. Miner suggested that listening to recordings of recent therapy sessions could potentially clear Greenson's name. Greenson consented under the condition that Miner keep the contents confidential, a promise upheld until after Greenson's death. The tapes revealed an introspective woman, examining past relationship mistakes and expressing both hope for her future and unresolved sentiments about her complex relationships with the Kennedy brothers. The effects of these events extended far beyond Monroe's death. In 1964, an anti-communist writer named Frank A. Capel self-published a pamphlet speculating that Monroe's alleged affair with Robert Kennedy led to her murder by communist agents. These theories captured public fascination to such an extent that in 1982, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office undertook a review of the controversy. However, they found no substantial evidence to support the murder theories, asserting that any such crime would have necessitated a large-scale conspiracy involving everyone present at the time of her death. The original ruling of Monroe's death being a probable suicide due to barbiturate overdose remained intact. Perhaps most poignantly, the tragedy affected Jackie Kennedy deeply. In May 1964, while playing tennis with Reverend Richard T. McSorley at Hickory Hill Estate, she found solace to discuss her grief and depression following her husband's assassination. Despite her Catholic upbringing, which condemned suicide, she admitted to understanding and even sympathizing with Monroe's fate, revealing a profound empathy that transcended social boundaries. Her conversations with Father McSorley revealed the deep emotional and spiritual struggles she faced, highlighting how the interconnected tragedies of that era affected everyone in their orbit. That's our deep dive into the final mysterious chapter of Marilyn Monroe's life, a woman who was more than a star. She was an icon crafted from pain, persistence, and raw ambition. But behind the glamour, there was a woman spiraling toward something far more complex, and possibly far more dangerous, than we've ever fully understood. But this isn't just about scandal or sorrow. It's about the tangled web of influence and betrayal that may have surrounded her in her final months. To explore this story even further, Marilyn's alleged affair with Bobby Kennedy, her tumultuous love life and failed marriages, and the chilling question of whether she truly believed President John F. Kennedy would leave his wife for her. Visit the Skoob app now. There, we also dive into her growing fears leading up to her death and the powerful, sometimes controversial influence her psychiatrist may have had on her fragile state of mind. Because what happened to Marilyn Monroe wasn't just about pills, press, or pressure. It may have been about what she knew, who she trusted, and the power circles she got too close to. Download Skoob on the App Store or Google Play to unlock the full investigation. I'm Sonia Lambert, and this has been Fame Factor. Until next time, keep questioning the headlines, follow the threads they want us to ignore, and remember, in Hollywood, the real drama rarely makes it to the screen.